Welcome to Between the Pillars, a Texas Masonic podcast where we explore the rich traditions and contemporary issues of Freemasonry. Please note, the views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the hosts and guests and do not necessarily reflect the official policies or positions of any Masonic Lodge, Grand Lodge, or governing body.
Good morning, brethren. My name is Hugo Mondragon. I'm the president of the Masters, Wardens, and Secretaries Association for Masonic District number 52. And I'd like to welcome everybody here this morning. I tell you what, thank you all so much for, hopefully your all's homes were fine after that storm came through last night. It was, I lost a couple of dead trees, which was good, but now I have to go chop it up. But at this time, I'd like to call on Brother Wilkin to provide us with the prayer, please.
Most holy and gracious Father in heaven, we're so thankful that we have the opportunity to meet today. We pray, Father, that our doings will be pleasing in your sight and that you help everyone as they leave here. And Father, we pray that what we hear today will touch our hearts and that the candidates here will make their opinions known, that other brother may know these brothers better, because they're here to serve, and we thank each and every one of them. Be with us, lead us, guide us, and protect us in all things. This we ask in your holy name. Amen.
All right, I'd like to make some introductions. For welcoming us here to Wimberley Lodge, I'd like to call up the Worshipful Master of Wimberley Lodge, John Earl.
Welcome, everyone. On behalf of Wimberley Lodge 1445, thank you all for attending today's festivities. Like Hugo said, I hope everybody wasn't affected by the storm too much last night. Just know that after the conclusion of today's forum, we will be serving fish and eat all you can. So once again, thank you.
Brethren, we're here for a great time. I really want to thank our candidates for coming all the way here to Wimberley to join us today for this candidates forum. The more we can be informed of the people that are making themselves available for the Grand South, the more we can be better informed to be able to vote for the person who's going to lead our organization into the future. So with that, I'd like to go ahead and introduce the candidates for the Grand South in alphabetical order. Brother George Moxley. Again, in alphabetical order, Brother Robert Park. And our third candidate is Right Worshipful John Wilkerson. You may be seated, gentlemen. That's what I heard. I heard that sometimes they fight, and so. All right. At this time, I'd like to introduce the moderator for today's event, and that's the creator of the podcast called Between the Pillars, Brother Marco Pasagna, our District Communications Officer. And with that, Marco, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Hu. I really appreciate it very much. As we get started, there will be a timer for each of the candidates. The first question will be for Right Worshipful Wilkerson. Okay. So here we go. If you can grab the mic for me. And we're going to be doing opening statements. So you have 3 minutes for your opening statement.
Okay. I'm going to stand up. I think better on my feet. So nice to be here. Thank y'all for hosting this. This is quite some kind of setup here. My name is John Wilkerson. This is kind of my backyard. I was born and raised in Austin. Graduated from McCallum in 74, went off to go to college, got hired by TI and ended up in Dallas. And I've been up there. I've actually been in Plano now for this year will be 40 years that I've been in Plano. And I do commercial lighting, business that my father had been in, just kind of one of those weird things with TI, of course. Everybody knows, I think down here, the layoffs happen down here just like they do everywhere. And I got caught up in a layoff and went over into commercial lighting, and that's where I really found my niche. So I'm a past master of Allen Lodge 1435. It's that little place with the $72 million football stadium that we built about 15 years ago. And that's where my home lodge is at, where I went through, got my degrees, served as worshipful master in 89-90. And up in that area, the Proctors were very big. They were up Adam McKinney, a judge, used car salesman, bought a combination. He was our Grand Master back in '61. That is one of my mentors. Bob Waters, another one that a lot of people recognize that name. Harry Cunningham, I served on his planning team, and as well as David Gower. So people wonder why we want to do this. We see little things. I think all three of us will agree we do not have all the answers. We don't have them. But we've known a lot of people, and we've got a lot of people that are friends. They're all Masons. That's one thing my wife found out about me very quickly, is that all my friends pretty much are members of my lodge or a Masonic lodge someplace. And I will assure you that my wife and my family are 100% behind me. I don't get any grief for travel or anything like that. And she knew nothing about Masonry when we got together 20 years ago. But she loves it. She knows why I'm doing this. I think we've got a bit of a correction problem we need to make in our Masonry. And that is, we need to start acting more like Masons. It's very simple. It's not difficult. We just have got to get things straightened out so that we are all working together instead of having these. I say Masonry is kind of like it's the most political, non-political organization I've ever known. And we are a democracy, but we are a democracy of one. We have to be. That's what Masonry is about.
All right, Robert Park, Brother Park.
All right, can you all hear? Yeah, it seems like that's on. Good morning, brethren. I know a lot of you here, and for those that don't know me, I think I should have shook your hand, but I am Robert Park. Usually last year I made myself available, and I had this elevator pitch that would give us an opening statement, but I realized it was kind of stepping on the toes of the questions. And how I feel about Masonry and why I'm doing this, I'm sure we'll get into with these questions. So I want to tell you a little bit about myself, because I don't get the opportunity to do that too often in these things. So I am a past master of Alamo Lodge number 44 in San Antonio. I think Tony Kimball is here. He was before me as master and after me as master. So I'm also the chairman of the Scottish Rite Library Museum in San Antonio. That has been a huge job recently because we are working with the Philharmonic to get that building renovated and fixed. And it goes very well right now, but good Lord, it's been, I'm dealing with that at least 15, 20 hours a week. I also serve on the Civil Law Committee for the Grand Lodge. I've been on that for 6 years. I served as chair under Brad Billings and then vice chair under G. Clay Smith. And that is a very busy job, too, because there are a lot of lodges selling their property right now and merging, so we're pretty busy. As far as my personal life, I was born in Dallas, went down to Austin for high school, then went down to Texas State, or when I was there, Southwest Texas, for college. I actually worked as a busboy at that Mexican restaurant, The Tea, down here during college, and at Green River Company, which was one of the best jobs I ever had. Then I went down to San Antonio and went to law school there, and got hired onto a law firm that practiced oil and gas law, and I've been there ever since. It's been 16 years now. I'm a partner at that firm. I'm a litigator in the oil and gas realm. It's called Uhl Fitzsimmons. It's been pretty busy, too. This past week, I was all over the state. I was in Dallas, Houston, then Cotulla, and doing hearings and litigation matters. So if I'm a little fuzzy today, that's why. Again, the reason, my wife will kill me. Every time I do this, I forget to mention my wife. I have a wife. We just celebrated our 19th wedding anniversary this past week. We have 3 daughters, all under the age of 13, and so that keeps us pretty busy too. But as John said, the family sees what Masonry means to me and what it's done for me as a man, and they are very supportive of this and have been traveling with me and allowing me the opportunity to do this, so I'm very thankful for that. Again, I will get into the reasons why I am running with the questions. And again, I appreciate being here, gentlemen. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Parks. Brother Moxley?
We got this thing on? Yeah, okay. Well, I know quite a few of you in here. I'm George Moxley. I'm a past master of Tino Porter Lodge, 1354 in Austin. I've served that twice. First time in 78 and 79, and then in 2018 and 2019. So you can figure that's 40 years apart. I've been in law enforcement now for 53 years. I still work kind of part-time at the police department doing security at the main station. Spent 30 years as a patrolman, 4 years with the school district, and then I went back to APD and spent 15 years doing background investigations on police applicants, which was kind of interesting. And the last 5 or 6 years I've been working security at the main station. I get to decide who comes in the building and who doesn't. So, but my wife, Linda, we've been married for 44 years. We've got 3 kids, two boys and a girl. Both my sons and my son-in-law are past masters of our lodge, as well as my father was a past master of our lodge. So we've got 3 generations in T. Neal Porter. I'm a 6th generation Mason, as far back as I've gone so far. But I served as District Deputy Grand Master for Right Worshipful Walt Rogers in 2013. I've been on several of the Grand Lodge committees. I was on the Special Assignments Committee twice. I'm on the Texas History Committee. I've been on that one and served as the chairman of that for the last 2 years I was on there. And I'm on the Grand Lodge Security Committee. And this year I was put on the Mediation Committee number 1 West, which is pretty well North Texas, to do mediations when they're required. I've been, I've done this before. I've run before, and I love this fraternity. That's the reason I keep after it. And we know, like I said, all 3 of us, all we've got is we've got to do what's best for this fraternity. We want to make it better and keep it strong. We need to work on some things with the membership. Everybody complains about membership getting lower, but there are ways we can make that happen. The Grand Lodge trustees can't get the members for you, but there's ways to do it, and I've got some plans to do that. But I love this fraternity, and I want to serve this Grand Lodge, and I appreciate y'all having us out here, and got a good crowd. But thank you guys, and we'll answer some more questions later.
All right, so my name is Marco Bisagna, and I just want to say thank you guys very much for being here. Between the Pillars, as this is a podcast that we have started here in District 52, and I just want to say thank you guys very much. So everything you guys are going to be saying will be put out into the outer webs, not right now, but in about a week or so. But we're going to start out with a couple of questions, and you will have the same time frame, 3 minutes, to answer, each of you. And then we'll go on to the next questions. If after that, we will have audience questions. And the audience members, if you have a question, you will be standing right on the other side of Brother Moxley, asking the question so you can be on camera as well. So if you are in dire needs of asking that question, you're more than welcome as soon as that time frame comes around. So the first question is going to go to Brother Parks. What inspired you to seek the office of Grand Junior Warden? And what do you hope to build or protect within our fraternity during your term?
Good question. So, basically, what inspired me to do this? As I said, I served on the Civil Law Committee for the past 6 years. And as part of the Civil Law Committee, when you're chair of that, you're basically the general counsel for the Grand Lodge of Texas. So you sit in on the trustees' meetings and you advise the Grand Master not just on real estate matters, but on any legal issues that come up. So for a good time period, I was there at the trustees' meetings in executive session, getting to see kind of how the sausage was made at Grand Lodge. And again, watching that, it made me realize, well, I knew this before, but it kind of all came home, that Grand Lodge has duties to all the subordinate lodges in the Masonry in general that are different from your average Mason or the Blue Lodge. Like Grand Lodge is a business. The trustees are directors of a multi-million-dollar nonprofit corporation. And they have to act with good business sense and economic sense because their goal is to protect the lodges legally and financially. If Grand Lodge is not doing what it's supposed to be doing from a legal perspective, the subordinate lodges cannot actually practice real masonry because they either go bankrupt or will get in legal trouble and get sued. And I've seen both of those. I've seen good and bad and everything in between when it comes to decisions made, at the top. And watching that and seeing how close we got to some pretty big problems over the years made me think, I sit on several different nonprofit boards. I have experience with that. That is one of the reasons. I said, I can do this. I have the experience to do this. I know what you need to do from a business perspective. But then again, one of the other duties that Grand Lodge has, and I always consider Grand Lodge like the federal government and the Blue Lodges the states, right? And there has to be a balance between this. We have kind of a federal system here where the states are the Blue Lodges and Grand Lodge is federal government. But as you've seen, there's always creep towards consolidation of power at the federal level or centralized power. And if you don't check that, more and more power will move on to it just happens. That's the nature of the beast, so you have to be very careful. Now, the Grand West, and y'all have done a very good job checking some of that power over the past 2 years and making things flow better between the two. But Grand Lodge, that's what they should be doing. They should be sitting there protecting the subordinate lodges, ensuring that our laws are complied with, but allowing the subordinate lodges the freedom to do what they want to do within, those boundaries. And so seeing that that was not happening, that there was a lot of creep towards, consolidation of power, that is one of the reasons why I decided to run last year. And again, we've made some good progress on that, but there's still some ways to go. I'll talk about Title V and some issues we're doing when we get to that. But there's a few other fixes that need to be made. And the last thing I'll say, because I got 15 seconds, is I've been working with the Northern Jurisdiction on their membership program, and bringing that to Texas, I think that will make a big impact on our numbers. And again, I give those speeches all over the state, but I'll get more into that in a second.
Thank you, Brother Parks.
Well, what got me interested in this was when I was District Deputy Grand Master with Walt Rogers, and we traveled all over the state. And I enjoyed doing that. I enjoyed going to the different lodges that I'd never been to and meeting people that I never would have met had I not had that opportunity. So that was one reason that I decided that this was what I wanted to do. I've talked to Grandmaster Rogers and several other past Grandmasters, and they've encouraged me to do the same thing. Get out and visit and let people know who you are and what you want to do. What I want to do, though, is, everybody complains, like I said, about membership. So I want to work on a program that we can get more members back in our lodges, get the members that have fallen away from coming to lodge. Get what I would propose is that they get with those members that aren't coming to lodge and find out why they don't come back to lodge, and find out what they would like to see to get them back to lodge. The other thing are the EAs and fellowcrafts that never advanced. Find out why they didn't do that. Come back and let's talk to them and find out what they need. But the one people that we don't ever talk to are the people that come to lodge. I would suggest that they talk to the people that come to lodge regularly and ask them, what keeps you coming back to lodge? Find out what the lodges are doing different that we can take back to the ones that aren't coming back to lodge, and tell them, the lodges have changed a lot. They're not just reading the minutes and paying the bills. We've got lodges that are doing law readings. We've got lodges that are doing Masonic moments. We've got lodges that have guest speakers come. And that's what we need to get more interest back into the lodge room so that these people will want to come back. And we've got to get the EAs and fellowcrafts to get somebody to mentor them and get them to want to come back and work with them to finish up what they started, so they can enjoy all the fruits of Freemasonry, not just to enter the apprentice and fellowcrafts. So that's one of my main things is the membership, and I think it's getting better. I've seen a lot of lodges doing a lot of degree work, a lot of EAs new coming in, but we've got to keep them interested and give them something to do. Bring these EAs in and give them something to do, because I had, well, I won't have time to do this, but I'll tell you later. My time's about up. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Moxley.
So one of the things, like I said just a few minutes ago, was we need to start acting more like Masons. And one of the things that Rob and George have both brought up is membership. Well, we need to be concerned about membership, but we need Masons. We don't just need members. We've got to have Masons in here. One of the things that a couple of us that have gone back and looked at some records, we've been taking such a browbeating over how membership has declined. Well, you need to start looking back at just how far and where that membership came from and what was going on back then. Myself, my father was raised after he came back from the war in '44 under Claude Austin's year at Wimberley Lodge down in Houston. We've gone back and found the records. I didn't have any records on my father at all. Gone back and found some records on him. But a couple of other brothers have gone and looked at lodges back where their fathers, grandfathers have been members. And during that period of time, there were so many guys coming in. They were conferring so many degrees. But what is hardly in the minutes anywhere are the proficiencies. Were these guys really learning the work? And not just learning the catechism, but learning what it means. Learning how to be a Mason. This is where I think we lost a lot of parts back then. Bart Henderson was very instrumental in building up and helped building a program called the Ashler program. Are y'all using the Ashler program? We've had it. We didn't have a name for it. We just did it up at Allen Lodge. That's when you came in, you're assigned somebody, not to just teach you your work. And he may not be the one that's teaching you your work, but he's teaching you the do's and don'ts, the things you need to look at and recognize about Masonry, about what's going on with you is relationship to your brothers, relationship to the lodge, relationship to your family, your faith. There's so much more to it. So I think the Asher program has been greatly underpublicized. And there's another program I will talk about here in a little bit that I want to see get revived, get pulled out of the dust, freshened up, dusted off, put back out, because I'm going to ask a quick question real quick. How many in here are voting members of Grand Lodge? How many are going to be attending Grand Lodge this year? Excellent. Way better percentages than we saw in Beaumont. No, there was a good crowd down there too, and that is so important because we're spending so much time going around and doing these, and we love doing them. I like being able to get out and talk to the guys and the brothers and letting them know what's going on and what we're thinking. They need to know what's coming from us, and I will leave it at that because I'm just about out of time.
And also, you guys be relaxed. Let them be nervous. I mean, it's going to be all right. The next question is going to be for Brother Moxley. So here's your question. How do you define the proper role of a Grand Junior Warden within the Grand Lodge of Texas? Is it the primary leadership, oversight, or representation? Explain why.
I think the role of Grand Junior Warden is, first off, is to learn. He's new in the line. He needs to learn what's going on. I've been to every trustees meeting for since 2019 when I found out you could actually attend the trustees meetings. So I've learned a lot just by watching that. But the junior warden, he's the new guy on the blocks. So he's there to learn what has been going on and to start the succession from him to the next one that's going to come behind him. You know, he's learning the ropes, trying to figure out exactly what his role is. But I think his main role is to learn what's been going on and work with the officers ahead of him, find out what their plans are, so that he can make his plan go with them. Because we need succession in the Grand Lodge line. We need people that are going to be able to work together, and all for the good of the fraternity. We don't want the division that we had a few years ago, but we won't get into that. But the Grand Junior Warden's main thing, I believe, is just mainly to learn what his role actually is and what his role will be as he moves through the chairs, because he's going to have to work with the other Grand Lodge officers to keep building the fraternity and making it better, and giving them, let them give him instruction as to what he needs to learn, and just keep going with his program. He'll be starting his program. He'll work with the other ones, give him an idea what his program wants to be as he goes through the line, so that, like I said, everybody can be on the same page, and we've got everybody working together, so that it's all for the betterment of our fraternity. So that's what I think is the Junior Warden's role.
Thank you, Brother Moxley.
Well, the main role as the Grand Junior Warden is just like it is at a Blue Lodge. You're the lawyer. You're supposed to be keeping an eye on things. And I think there's a reason why we are sitting over in the South, so that we can keep an eye of what's going across the entire playing field, from the Grand Master down to the Grand Senior Warden. I haven't seen the working together. George and I have actually talked about this a number of times. I don't see from Grandmaster to Grandmaster, people working together on a plan. It just seems like everybody wants to go off and make a mark for themselves. And I've been involved at the Grand Lodge level since the late 80s, late 90s. I was DDGM the first time in 95 for Ferris Benham. And that's when I really was kind of thrown into some stuff. And I saw there's a lot of undercurrent going on the whole time that the main membership does not see or hear about. But there has to be more working together at that Grand Lodge level, because right now, with Brother Rumsey, should he get, or right worshipful Rumsey coming in next year, as he should tradition prevail, there are a lot of people that are not connected. We don't know what's getting ready to go on. We don't know what's changing. We don't know what programs they're going to work on, if they're starting something new. We've got to get back to where there's more of an even flow every year, not this up and down, up and down. I believe our Grandmaster's statement this year, make an impact, that is a point. That is a main point. You've got to make an impact on somebody every day. Whether it doesn't have to be money. It can be just helping somebody out. It could be a kind word. It can be a good handshake, looking them straight in the eye, listening to their problems. But you've got to make an impact. But right now, the impact is not happening. It doesn't look to me going from Grandmaster to Grandmaster as this been getting handed down every year. There's just not some sustainable programs. Now, this Asher program, it is awesome. And if y'all have not downloaded this thing or ordered it from the Grand Secretary's office, you need to do it. You need to get it, you need to download it, and you need to start implementing it, because I guarantee you it will make your lodge flow smoother. It will make your new candidates feel more at ease, and it will teach the older members that they do have something to share. There is something for them to do. They're not just taking up a seat on the sideline. Thank you.
Thank you, Right Worshipful Wilkerson. Same question, Brother Parks.
All right. Well, I liked both of those answers. I'm going to incorporate those into mine. But I will say this. As soon as the Grand Junior Warden is elected, they are a full voting member of Grand Lodge, of the trustees. Their vote is just the same as the Grand Master. They have a vote. And so from day one, they have to know what's going on if they're going to use that vote appropriately. So like George said, you got to get up to speed. One of your duties is to get up to speed on everything going on financially, in every realm, so you can vote the way you should at the trustees meetings. Again, I also agree that there needs to be more cooperation between the Grand Lodge trustees, because once you're elected, like I was on Jim's planning committee, and he was sending stuff out immediately after he was elected, like this needs to be done, this needs to be done, this needs to be done, because you really don't have that much time. You're trying to put together a program for your year, and it takes all that time to get there. But as John said, people get so fixated on their program, they're not working with the guy above them or below them on their program. So again, I think we've seen some of that now. I know that Jim and Justin have been working together and trying to consolidate some of their ideas so it flows more, but I absolutely agree with that. One of the duties of the junior warden should be to be helping out the guys ahead of them implement their programs. So yeah, you got to be looking after your program. You got to be with your planning committee doing all of that. You have to get up to speed on all the legal and business issues. But at the same time, you owe a duty to the guys in front of you to help them make sure that their year is great as well. So it sounds like there's a lot going on. The junior warden, it might just look like they're sitting there, but there's a lot of stuff they should be doing. And just like Chip has been doing, the Grand Lodge officers are the face of Masonry to the public and to the subordinate lodges and to us. I mean, they have to set a good example. You have to be traveling around showing up as the Grand Junior Warden, and he has done an excellent job at that. I've seen him everywhere that I've been, and I think that's what you need to be doing as the Grand Junior Warden. So those things to me are the duties. You have to plan for your year. You have to help out the guys in front of you. You have to get savvy with the business and the law so you can vote correctly. And again, you have to be out being seen and setting a good example to the brethren. Thank you.
And all duties as assigned. All right, next question goes to Brother Wilkerson. When difficult issues divide opinion among the trustees, how will you balance your personal conviction, Masonic law, and the will of the West when casting your vote?
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, because we've seen what happens when you get on the wrong side of the coin. As I said, Masonry is, without question, the most non-political organization there is. Without question, we are a democracy, but we are a democracy of one. We shouldn't have, and I'm so sick of hearing about so-and-so's army or so-and-so's battles over here or this. I grew up, I'm a little bit more of the old school, I would say like George maybe, but definitely older than Rob. I've seen what the division can do and what can happen. We forget as Masons, we took obligations and vows that we are going to learn to work together. And just because you've got a difference of opinion, it doesn't mean you go out and you file charges Masonically, or, God forbid, the cardinal sin, as far as I'm concerned, filing a civil lawsuit. That is just, we don't take our laundry outside. We take care of everything in-house. And we learn that we have to be able to accept parts of other people's opinions, because maybe we're too close-minded on something. Maybe we should step back and take a broader look at something, the way somebody's coming across with trying to make a point. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. We've got to be diverse. I think there's a lot of good things have come along the last few years, but there's also been so much negativity, and even to the point, how many resolutions have we seen come in over the last 5 years lessening the penalties when we've done something wrong? That's going backwards to me. We need to be tightening things up. We need to be calling people out on the carpet and finding out, why did you do this? Why are you taking this stance so hard? We can't have all the bitterness going on. Personally, I'm sick of it. And how many brothers we've seen going around as we've traveled the state saying they don't even want to come back to Grand Lodge because they experienced that whole catastrophe in 24. They don't want to go through that again. I don't want to go through it again. My wife was sitting there. I really don't want her to go through that again. She was sick about it and so uncomfortable. We just don't need it. And in our fraternity, that should never happen. You can disagree to disagree. That's all it is. Work on things, but learn how to start working better together to make all of us better, because we don't need anything tearing us up from the inside. We have enough crap coming from us from the outside world, so we don't need anything from inside. Thank you, brothers.
Brother Park.
Again, I've experienced this personally, what John was alluding to. We've been through some issues in the past 5 or 6 years. And so it got me thinking about conflict resolution. That's one of the things that I've been going around talking about as well. When it comes to this type of thing, if you have disagreement in the lodge or in Grand Lodge or between the trustees, I've noticed it really stems from a couple things. And there's some great lines from Pike If anyone's actually read Morals and Dogma, I know it's huge, but there's some good stuff in there in this. And one of the things he says is, here is a guy who is just as smart as me, just as educated as me. I know he's a good guy, but yet he holds an opinion that is so crazy to me that I can't believe he's reasonable and sane. And yet he is both. His reason is as good as mine, and his education is as good as mine. And what Pike was getting at is that in a lot of issues, reasonable minds can differ. And we've kind of forgotten that because we assume bad motives. If someone disagrees with us or has another viewpoint, we don't assume they're reasonable. We assume they have bad motives behind that, ulterior motives, or they're just a bad person. And I've seen this play out because once you assume those motives about someone, no matter what they say, you're not going to take it at face value. You're going to think they're lying, or you're going to think they're doing something wrong. And it prevents any kind of rapprochement or anything getting together and fixing the issue. And I think we ran into a little of that. You know, I was privy to kind of the goings-on both sides of some of the issues we've had. And I'll tell you this, each side thought they were being reasonable, and each side had reasons as to why they were doing what they were doing that they thought were entirely justifiable. The problem is, neither side could actually talk to the other side and explain what was going on or believe that the other side was being honest and serious. And when John talks about being a Mason, that is exactly what we need to do. Being a Mason means you assume good motives of your brethren. It means you will sit down and talk to them and believe them, and only after that, after you assume good motives, then if you're convinced beyond a reasonable doubt that there's something bad going on, act on it. But Pike says again that the good Mason should always look for good motives and should rejoice when a good motive is found for an act that at first blush looks badly. And so again, that is what we should be doing. That is my idea for conflict resolution, to nip it in the bud before it even starts. Just sit down and act like a Mason and talk to the brethren and get everything out in the open and believe them. So thank you, brother.
Brother Moxley?
Well, I think main thing I want to do, I would talk to the Masons in the West. I mean, they're the ones that are going to vote on this. They're the ones that are more affected of it. But if you've got a conflict between the trustees, like you said, you need to sit down and talk it out. It's okay to agree to disagree. But if you've got two people that are butting heads against something, sit down and talk it out and come up with a solution that's not necessarily for one side or the other, but what is good for the whole fraternity. We don't need this one wanting that and this one wanting that, and they're not going to sit down and talk. You've got to sit down, like I said, be Mason, talk to the people, talk to each other, and come out with a solution that benefits the whole fraternity, not just one person's idea. Again, like I said, it's okay to agree to disagree, but and that's going to happen. But we've got to go back to the law book, make sure that what they're discussing is legal, what the legal ramifications are. But I think talking to the people outside, the members of the lodges, that's who you need to contact too, and ask them, what is your opinion of this? What do you think about this? And get a consensus from the members, because that's who it's going to affect. So we need to make sure that we're getting a good idea of what the Grand West wants, not just what the trustees want, because they represent the Grand West, and there's more of the Grand West than there are the trustees. So, you need to make sure that you're getting the information from all sides, not just the two trustees or the trustees are together or anybody else, but the Grand West is who you really need to talk to, because they're the ones that, like I said, they're going to be affected by the decisions that the trustees make. And so we want the trustees to make good decisions and be able to sit down and talk about it and figure out what is best for the whole fraternity, the Grand West and everyone else.
Thank you. I can assure you the next questions are going to get easier, so just... next question is for Brother Park. Our law requires that all Masonic disciplinary actions uphold fairness, dignity, and due process. As Grand Junior Warden, how would you ensure that any future proceedings are handled with impartiality and respect for both the craft and the accused brother?
Here we go. Title V has been the bane of my existence for quite a while. It used to be the Civil Law Committee somehow became the people that were prosecuting these cases. Under Alan Laser, everything was kind of funneled to the Civil Law Committee, so I was in a lot of Masonic disciplinary violations as secretary and as helping out the judge. So I've seen how this goes down, and a lot of things need to be fixed. First of all, the lawsuit was mentioned. Did y'all know that if you file like charges against a Mason, you open yourself up to a defamation case? None of this is privileged. If you file a lawsuit against someone, all of that is privileged. You cannot be sued for defamation by filing a lawsuit. But you file a Form 1, you are in some trouble if you are accusing them of a crime or something of moral turpitude. And that needs to change. We just passed 2 sessions ago through Alan Laser a law with the Texas legislature that would allow us arbitral immunity if we move Title V to an arbitration provision. So that's one of the things we're working on, is scrapping the entire thing and moving it to arbitration, so that way anything you say, you are privileged and cannot be sued, and neither can the Grand Lodge. Apart from that, it used to be that the Blue Lodges themselves handled these trials from start to end, right? The Worshipful Master was the judge. Like it was a Blue Lodge event. But because a lot of lodges now cannot field a Masonic jury, it's been centralized. And we talked about that creep to central authority. Again, in Masonry, the Grand West has the legislative power, right? But the executive and judicial power are combined in the Grand Master. And I'm not sure I really like that too much, because it gives the Grand Master too much authority over disciplinary matters. And so the idea would be, if we did this arbitration provision and fixed all of that, you could basically take it out and put it in the hands of third parties. You could elect the arbitrators, have a system where it's taken away from the Grand Master's authority and based on someone else who's voted for at Grand Lodge. Again, if we're talking fairness and due process, that really needs to be separated out. Like, the powers have to be separated, because otherwise you have a conflict of interest. And we've kind of seen this. The mediation committees that are supposed to go mediate cases, like sit down and just act like a normal mediation, have kind of turned into the Masonic law enforcement. They're going out and they're investigating things. They're telling people what they need to accept. That's not the way it should be. That has to be taken away, and mediation needs to go back to what it was supposed to be. I know this isn't being done for some nefarious purpose. It's being done because it's the easiest way to do this, and power centralized, and the lodges can't really do this themselves anymore. So we got to fix this whole thing to avoid some of the problems we've seen in the past. And again, the Grand West has done a good job with limitations, with making sure trials are done on a timely basis, but there still needs to be a lot of work done, and that's one of the things that I'll be working on. Thank you, brother.
Thank you. Brother Moxley?
Okay. As far as impartiality, I mean, you can't go into mediation or trial without being impartial. You've got to be able to listen to both sides and make your own decision as to what you feel is the best for the fraternity. I don't know that I'm not a lawyer, so I was a cop. So I've been to lots of trials, but mine were mostly what I saw and what happened with mine. But so I don't claim to be a lawyer and know all this lawyer stuff, but I think that you've got to go into these things with an open mind. You've got to listen to both sides, hear both sides, and make your own decision as to what's best for the fraternity and which side is. It's not taking sides on any of it. It's got to end up coming up with what is best for the fraternity. So whatever the charges are or the problem is, that's my big thing. You want to do what's best for the whole fraternity as a whole, not just for one side or the other. So you've got to listen to both sides and just be respectful of both points of view. You've got to, like I said, agree to disagree, but listen and make your own decision as to what you feel is right, what you feel is best for the fraternity, and just go with that. I don't know all the legal stuff, but I know this Title V is a mess, and of course it's written by lawyers. So. But even our lawyers say it's hard to understand at times. So we need to work on Title V and get it where the layman can understand it. You know, all this legalese stuff that people don't understand that aren't lawyers, but make it so that the layman can understand what's going on and what the law means, and make good decisions as to how to enforce the law and how to react to it.
Thank you. Right Worshipful Wilkerson.
Thank you very much. Again, I'm not an attorney. Never claimed to be one. I have a lot of common sense, and I have a lot of compassion. I'm going to leave the lawyering for Robert here. That's perfect. And there's a reason why we have jurisprudence and civil law, and we need to use them, and we need to be careful about who goes on those committees. I've got to tell you, this year alone, what our grandmasters had to deal with has been completely a joke. I cannot believe the stuff that has gotten back to a couple of us of what's happened across this state, what our brothers have done to other people. It's just almost incomprehensible. And that's why we've got several that are gone, and probably more coming that are going to be gone. I know that a lot of this stuff on the outside, a lot of the lawsuits and stuff, I just don't think that anything should ever get to that point to where it has to leave being, as we would say, in-house, unless it's something. I know we've had a couple of brothers that have stolen quite a bit. That's a whole different thing. Taking a lot of money from a lodge or Scottish Rite or York Rite bodies or whatever, that's a whole different thing. That, to me, that does get into legal civil law, because you are crippling an organization, especially nonprofits like we are. And I believe that most of those, all the money has been recuperated. But just what the brothers done in violating just our own obligations, because we don't get to pick and choose which of these obligations that we get to stand by. That's not what Masonry is about. We've all taken the same obligations at the altar on our knees to our God and our brothers. I believe that a lot of this stuff, though, has not been handled properly. A lot of it, of the decisions have been one-sided over the years. But you've got to have somebody that can reach across and not only law smart, but being compassionate and being able to understand how bad do you want to cripple something, or do you just need to give it a hard slap, or do you need to really cripple it? So as I say, I'm like George. I'm going to leave this to the lawyers. That's why I think we have to be very cautious about who we put on jurisprudence and on civil law. And before I get in any more trouble, I think I'll leave that one alone.
Thank you, Right Worshipful. All right, this goes to Brother Moxley. Many brethren express a desire for stronger communication, consistency, and transparency from the Grand Lodge leadership. As Grand Junior Warden, what would you do to strengthen confidence in our leadership and promote trust across the craft?
I think the main thing you need to do is you need to get out among the craft. Get out and go visit these lodges. I went to one lodge one time that a couple of years ago when I made myself available, and they said, you know, there's never been anybody running for a Grand Lodge office or a Grand Lodge officer come to our lodge, and you took the time to come and do it, and we appreciate that. So I think that's one way of doing it, is to get out as a Grand Lodge officer, like I said, Chip Green, he's everywhere. But as a Grand Lodge officer, I think you don't once you get elected, you don't just sit back on your laurels and just sit there. You need to get out and get among the brethren and find out what's going on in the different lodges, what the people are wanting to see from the Grand Lodge and from the trustees. So unless you get out and know what they need, then you can bring that back to the other trustees and say, I've talked to people around the state, and this is what they would like to see from the trustees and from the Grand Lodge. So I think that's the main thing, is you just got to make yourself visible and be out among the brethren and find out what it is that they're looking for and what they would like to see from the trustees, and they would like to see us do for the betterment of the fraternity. That's pretty much all I got.
Thank you, Brother Moxley. Brother Wilkerson? Yes, sir.
So this is one of my favorite topics. Quite frankly, 3 weeks ago, George and I did one of the candidate forums up in Marshall, and one of the guys came up to me afterwards and he said, it sounded like you got some pretty good ideas. He said, I've always wondered why we have to wait 4 years, or 3 years actually, to start seeing these projects that you're wanting to put in place. And I said, well, that might have been the way it was, but that's not the way it needs to be. So I'm a firm believer. I've already got probably 3/4 of my team together, and they all know that we're pushing hard to win this thing. You cannot wait around when you hit that door as Grand Junior Warden. You have got to be out communicating. And Chip Green, I got to tell you, I'm never going to catch that guy. I've been to like 81 lodges this year. Chip's in like 300 and something. It is crazy, and he's still going. And I appreciate that because I don't believe we've seen that out of our Grand Junior Wardens in a long time. I mean, I can remember back years ago, and I'm talking 30-plus years ago, a lot of them did that. They knew what was going on. They were getting out. They were working, and they were working to get guys in different areas ready for getting into the mix at Grand Lodge. And I'm talking about running for a position, moving things around the state. That's what an idea used to be that the group, I would say, there at Grand Lodge tried to do. We were getting, like, you wouldn't have 4 or 5 people coming out of, like, Houston at a time, or out of San Antonio, or out of Austin, or out of Dallas. It was getting moved around. And it's not to spread the power. It's to bring notoriety to an area, I believe. And there are smart guys that are capable of doing this job. They're all over the state. Some of them are too quiet. Some of them don't realize that they may just have what it takes to do this job. I didn't ever think that this would be something I would run for. I didn't. But I've been serious about this, and when I decided that I was going to do it, I've been committed. A lot of people like to throw the word passionate around. There's a book I've been reading called The Main Enemy is Ego. And boy, let me tell you, there is so much in that book. It is amazing. You can read it by chapter, and you can say, I know that guy. I know that guy. I know a guy that's like that. But this is one of these things that you've got to reach out, and you got to reach across and talk to both sides and make these visits. I'm like George, and I'm going to be just like Chip. Should I be this fortunate to win? You can't stop traveling around. You have got to get out and get to these lodges. One thing Rayburn did this year, our Grand Master, I've been talking to him too much, is he's making these hot spots. And he'll just drop in on a lodge unannounced. He doesn't want to be received. He doesn't need a pat on the back. He just wants that lodge to know it's been noticed, and we need to do more of that.
Thank you. Brother Park?
All right. Well, if we're talking about, we could be talking about several things there. If we're talking about, like, the business records and the financials, all of that needs to be as transparent as possible, and we're kind of moving that direction. Most of that stuff, pretty much all of it, if you wanted to check it out and talk to the Grand Secretary or the Grand Treasurer, you're entitled to look at those documents, and you're entitled to basically see everything that is not privileged. Again, the only things that are going to be privileged, like when you have a trustees meeting, if there is a legal question that's an open legal question that can't get out because it could lead to litigation or problems, that has to be done in executive session. But that's the only time executive session should be used. You should not be conducting your entire meeting in an executive session. Everything that can be open needs to be open. And so that's one thing. One thing is just to make sure that every piece of information that you can get out that is not privileged needs to get out. Now the question is, how do you get that out? Because your average Mason doesn't know how to go get those documents or to drive to Waco or how to talk to them to get it. We are doing some reports now. I know the trustees are sending out like reports on the status of the budget and those types of things. If we could get a more robust type of that might be good. Or maybe some kind of Masonic meet the press where every now and then they go out and they answer questions or do something. But again, most of this information is available to everyone. But again, we can make it easier to get. As far as the other issues, like what the trustees are planning to do their year, I do know from experience that a lot of trustees, if you are the Grand Junior Warden or Grand Senior Warden, you tend to hold your cards pretty close to the vest because there's a fear that if your program or what you're doing got out, someone ahead of you might grab it and use it for themselves. Now, I think that fear is kind of unfounded. And again, we talked about working together again. If all the trustees were working and trying to make the year of the guy in front of them as best as they could, we'd have that open communication. But I do know that's one of the issues. A lot of people are scared to openly talk about their programs because they don't want it to be co-opted by someone else. But again, that's not me. I think the Grand Junior Warden, the Grand Senior Warden, they should be pretty open with what they're doing and letting people know what's happening. And again, if you're ahead of somebody and you hear what their program is, you probably shouldn't steal it. But yeah, if we do those things, I think we'll be all right. And I'll be listening to everybody on ways we can improve on that. So thank you, brother.
I've heard the word stealing, but appropriation is usually used. But that's a fancy word for. We're gonna go with Brother Wilkerson. Grand Lodge resources must serve both today's membership and the generation to come. What principles will guide your decision to ensure responsible stewardship of our financial and physical assets while supporting the long-term health of Texas Masonry?
Proper investments. That's what we're going to start with. There is quite a bit of money sitting down there in that Grand Lodge, and the people that have control of it, it is paramount that we have the right people with their hands on our money. I've seen what I'm also on the Masonic Charities Foundation. I'm a non-voting member. They did that for a reason, so that I had input. I also have merchandise that I sell for them, but I do not vote because I don't want a conflict of interest should something happen in January. You cannot be sitting on two different trustees boards when there is money going back and forth between the two of them. But the money, I am not completely sure everybody that is entitled to handle the money. At the last trustees meeting, there was quite a bit of talk about some of the investments and where they were at. They've not been happy with them. They're planning on looking elsewhere to handle a great bulk of the money down at Grand Lodge. We have to keep it, number one, safe. It cannot be in a volatile situation or a chance where we could take any type. People think great loss. I'm talking about any kind of loss. If we lose $1, I'm not going to be happy about it because what is happening, the amount of money that is coming in at Grand Lodge through our per capita and our dues and stuff, it is shrinking because the membership is shrinking. The endowed memberships, and I had one I was given one in 1990, practically when it started. But I have always contributed our dues. That's the way it should have been sold. It was not sold that way to start with, and that was a real bad road to go down. Just because you've got an endowed membership, you have to think of it as I'm sure most of y'all here in the room, that's for after you're gone. That's so that they've got something coming in. They're not having to pay something on to Grand Lodge about you on. That's money that comes back after you've been gone. So the money is critical. I love the way they have rearranged the ownership of, I would say, the building and who is taking care of what and who is responsible for what. I think they're doing a much better job now of maintaining that building. There is quite a bit more that does need to be done, but I think we have got to be very cautious with where and who handles our investments and who has got say over those people.
All right. Brother Parks?
All right. Well, the Grand Lodge of Texas is doing all right. Like if you I'm not talking about the Library and Museum or any of the other organizations. Just the Grand Lodge of Texas, I think we've been in the black, and from my discussions with the trustees, we will be for 5 or 10 years. We're looking okay. I agree with John that we do need to be very careful on how the money is invested. We have to have smart people doing that. From my perspective, I'm just more worried about liability because we're doing well right now. If we get sued or hit with something big, that's going to be a big problem. One of the issues that came up a few years ago that we've been working on is we have a lot of lodges that are demising or merging or selling their property, and a lot of these properties have issues on them. They have asbestos, they have environmental contamination. Alan Laser was very concerned about that because when a lodge demises, the statute says that all their property reverts to the Grand Lodge of Texas. We have a very interesting reversionary interest in property that is statutorily created that I haven't seen anywhere else. So again, if you have a lodge and something happens and it demises, all of that goes to Grand Lodge and the liabilities go to Grand Lodge. So that's a concern that we've had because it happens immediately. It's by operation of law the property becomes Grand Lodge and any liability there. So we're working on creating basically some shell, strike the shell companies. we're working on putting some well-funded companies together that basically the property would flow into those, and that way would insulate Grand Lodge from any potential liability from the property. The other issue, again, is I'm sure all of you were familiar with the lawsuit that occurred in McAllen. That was able to be settled, and we have insurance for that type of thing. But that just shows you that we are open to those types of suits, and we have to be very careful about how we handle that. And looking into that and limiting our liability is something that we've been doing as well. And again, the Title V issue, guys, like you've seen it happen. Grand Lodge has been sued, and that wasn't the first time. It's happened before. In the past 20 years, that has happened several times where someone who had charges against them sued the lodge, the people charging them, the district deputy grand masters, and all of the Grand Lodge trustees. And one case went all the way through the appellate courts, and we're talking, this was in the millions and millions of dollars, right? And they tried to get it kicked out, and the appellate court said, no, this is a valid claim. So unless we fix that, we are always going to be, basically the sword of Damocles is going to be hanging there. If someone files the wrong form and someone sues, we will get popped. So that needs to get fixed.
Brother Moxley?
Well, for me, I would work closely with the Grand Treasurer. He's the one that puts everything together as far as the money goes. Work with him and see where it's at, how the finances are doing with the different organizations that handle our finances and our endowments and our other funds that we've got. And like I said, there is a lot of money sitting in the Grand Lodge of Texas. And so we need to protect that through the legal system and work on this Title V to where we are kind of keep us from being so much a part of these outside lawsuits that are be draining our money out of our system. But I think right now the trustees are doing a very good job of managing the money. Wright Worsfold Townsend has done a good job as our treasurer, and he keeps the trustees up to date on everything that's going on, I think, and not just at the trustees meetings. I think he's sending them stuff like every month on what the trustees are, what the finances are doing, what the different funds that we've got are doing, and how everything is going. Tells them when it's going down. It tells them when it's coming back up. And so I think he's done a great job. So I would work really close with the Grand Treasurer, whoever that might be. But they're the ones that know the finances. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a financial person. But I've been to all these trustees meetings. I've heard them talk about the finances. And I've got a pretty good idea of how they're handling it and what's going on with them. I think they're doing a good job. I don't see there's some things that they need to work on and make sure they are looking at changing financial managers because the ones that they've got now are just not giving we're not making enough money on our returns from them, and I think they want to transfer it over to another financial group. And that's something that they're working on. But main thing I would do is just work with the Grand Treasurer and the other trustees as well to make sure that they're managing our money correctly.
Thank you. Next question goes to Brother Park. Many Masons believe our charitable and educational outreach defines how the public perceives us. How should Grand Lodge better align its financial priorities with visible services, such as supporting local lodge programs, youth initiatives, or community partnerships?
So you're talking about using Grand. Can you read that again? So is Grand
Sure.
Lodge helping out the subordinate lodges with this type of outreach?
How should Grand Lodge better align its financial priorities with visible service, such as supporting local lodge programs, youth initiatives, or community partnerships?
We've been discussing that question too. We have a lot of good programs. I mean, Grand Lodge has a lot of stuff that they offer that, again, a lot of lodges are using, but a lot of lodges don't know about. And getting that information out is number one. Like Grand Lodge is trying. They've been doing a good job trying to get these programs out, like how we can help with scholarships, how we can help with outreach as far as there's natural disasters, the matching funds, like all of this, the Grand Lodge already has. If we're talking about expanding that, I would honestly, that's a question I would have to look into. You'd have to talk to the subordinate lodges and find out what kind of things they would want to do. If we're talking about just outreach, like getting out in the community and making ourselves known, that goes back to that line between Grand Lodge and the subordinate lodges to me. Like Grand Lodge should, they give assistance and can give you ideas, but it's the subordinate lodges that really have to go do the work on that. Like Grand Lodge can't do any hand-holding and say, you're going to go do this. So if subordinate lodges had ideas, if they wanted to do something, if there were programs, I mean, there's a way to talk to Grand Lodge to potentially get some assistance with that. But it's kind of hard with those types of questions because once Grand Lodge gets too involved in what the Blue Lodges are doing, then you have problems. And so there's a fine line between assisting or giving materials to, like you can try this for a fundraiser, you can try this, with Grand Lodge actually giving money and going out there and telling them what to do. So if it's Grand Lodge programs about outreach, if it's Grand Lodge itself trying to do something, like that's fine, but when it comes to the subordinate lodges, I hate to say this, the subordinate lodges really got to take the lead on that, and they got to do it themselves.
All right. Brother Moxley?
Well, we need to get ourselves out in the community. We've got several programs that the community comes out to, cornerstones, scholarships, the Community Builder Award, these sort of non-Masons. I think we need to promote those more in the community, especially if you're going to do something like a cornerstone. This is a story I was going to tell earlier. We did a cornerstone in Elgin back earlier this year. And Elgin sent a bunch of people out there, and they sent the newspaper guy out there. And so we need to get the media involved when we do these things, these cornerstones and scholarships. The guy in Elgin, when the newspaper came out, he wrote a wonderful article about talking about the cornerstone program that we do and how the Masons work and some of the charitable things that we do. Had a picture of then Grand Master Chapman doing the leveling of the cornerstone, and it made the front page of the Elgin newspaper. Now, I don't know how often the Elgin newspaper comes out, but we were on the front page of the Elgin newspaper, so everybody in Elgin that gets newspaper knew what was going on. And we've done some others out there that they've sent some people out, but we've got to get out in the public and let them know what we're doing. You give these scholarships to these students, and you bring them into the lodge room and present them with the scholarships, which is great. It gives the students, the families, friends come in and see what our lodges are like, and we can talk about Masonry to them at that point. But I also think they need to go back at the end of the year. Most of these schools have award ceremonies. Go back to the schools at the end of the year and say, these students here are getting ready to go off to college, and we've given them financial aid to do so. And if anybody is interested in scholarships, contact your local lodge and see if they can help you with that. Some of the lodges I think with the scholarships tend to just give them to family members of Masons. I think we need to get them out, not just to the Masonic families, but other people that need scholarships instead of just keeping it in-house. Let's give it out to some other students that don't have any connections to Masonry, because that may bring them into Masonry and give them some connection to it. So that'd be the main thing, is just get out, and then the lodges need to get out and do the community work and let the community know when you're doing something. I know Blanco had that car show, and I know they made a big to-do about that.
Thank you very much, Brother Rock. Brother Wilkerson?
Well, I'm definitely a firm believer the Blue Lodges themselves have got to take care of themselves. We cannot depend on Grand Lodge to come up with especially things to make you more prevalent in your own community. They cannot reach across the state into every community, every size community, whether it be the size of Wimberley or the size of Dallas or the size of Plano. That is not something I don't think should be burdened at the Grand Lodge level. I've been amazed at how many people have been to the OLTs? Okay. Those are one of the most misused things, and the reason I went there, I believe it's the 201, where when you're learning about being the senior warden. I believe, isn't that right? That's the senior warden part. They really get into that, and Sam Gibbons is one of the smartest guys about, especially holding any of the raffles that we don't imaginarily that we don't have. That part of they have got so much stuff on those OLTs to teach you how to get out in the public. They have so many different ideas to make yourselves seeable, noticeable, and interacting with things. They've got ideas some guys never even thought of. Unfortunately, we didn't even have the warden's retreats when I was getting ready to go in as master, and you just kind of had to hope for the best. But as for generating money and income for the lodges, not all of the lodges are in as good a situation as Allen was. We actually, and y'all may look into this, working the stadiums. We got tied in because of the Kiwanis up in Allen with working the concession stand at the football games. Now, Allen has a massive stadium, yes. Got a good football team, yes. But they got to have people work those concession stands, and I am telling you all, the amount of money that is generated out of that is absolutely incredible. It does take commitment, and more commitment. But if you can get going with that, and when we did that, one of the things we did was we made sure we had on fluorescent orange shirts that had a big square and compass on them, Allen Lodge. And I think over the probably 10 years that we've been doing these now, we have probably picked up about 5 or 6 brothers at our lodge.
Thank you. Brother Moxley, next question goes to you. And I swear these are going to be fun questions coming up. So what's the most effective way to strengthen our membership, recruitment, retention, or restoration? And what practical support should Grand Lodge provide to lodges in that effort?
Okay. Well, what's this on? Yeah. To strengthen our membership, we need to get back out and get the people that aren't coming back to lodge, like I said earlier. Find out why they're not coming. Some of them may not be able to drive at night. Go by and pick them up and bring them to lodge. I drove Archie Scott around quite a bit because when he couldn't drive anymore. But you need to find out why they're not coming back to lodge. Find out what you can do to bring them back to lodge. And so we've got to just let them know that we're out there for them, and we want them back in lodge. And lodges are changing. They're not, like I said earlier, they're not just paying the bills and reading the minutes. It's getting to be a whole lot more to it, and it's a whole lot more interesting and make people want to come back to lodge and hear what's going on. But the lodges, they're going to have to take that on again, get to be with their members. I've got one member in our lodge that's going to, he's calling everybody that hadn't been there in a while. He's calling some of the EAs and fellow crafts that didn't advance, trying to get them back into lodge and find out what we can do to get them back and get these especially get the EAs and fellow crafts back in and finish their work and be a part of the lodge. I think one way to keep people interested is to give them something to do. When you get a new EA in there, don't just have them sit on the sidelines and watch. Give them something to do. Because I went to Garland Lodge, and they had an EA that turned in his proficiency that night and did a great job. And when they got ready to close, their treasurer, for some reason, had to leave early. So, and I'd given a little talk about, getting these EAs involved and give them something to do. And so the master, he's looking for somebody to sit in the pro tem treasurer so he could close. And he looked at me and he looked back at that new EA and he says, you're going to be our treasurer. So they take this new EA over there and sit him in the treasurer's chair, and he's got this big grin on his face like, yeah, this is pretty cool. And they told him, you got to put that collar on. He got this surprise look, I get to wear this, So he was grinning ear to ear, They gave him a piece of paper, what he's supposed to read when it came to him. But it gave him something to do and made him feel part of the lodge instead of just finding another past master to sit over there and telling him, just sit here and watch and learn, He's learning by doing. So I think that's the main thing, is to get people involved in the lodge, give them something to do, make sure that they know that they are part of the lodge and they're needed in the lodge to do whatever we need done, even if it's just setting up the lodge room or getting the tables ready for dinner or whatever. But we need to make sure that these people. Sorry.
Brother Wilkerson.
Well, for sure, over the years, the 43 that I've been in, I've seen a lot of programs come and go, and there was a couple of them in particular right now. One is from many years ago in the early 90s, and I know y'all know about it because you got the poster hanging out there, and that's Between Friends. That is one of the most underused and underdeveloped programs that there was. How many people in this room know a guy that would be a good Mason? I mean, literally every one of us. It might be a family member, it might be a close friend, it might be a church member. That program, we've already gone back and gotten what we could find on it. We are brushing that thing off, cleaning it up. Even if I don't make it in January, I want to see this thing get reused again, because I believe it was underused, and we have got to turn this thing on. And when I brought it up to a couple of the guys that I've already got pulled into my circle, they're like, oh yeah, I've had ideas about that before. That's one of those little things. The Ashler program that we've got, that Bart Henderson helped develop that, and I like to give people credit where credit's due. Bart worked a lot on that thing. That is one of his babies. That program could do so much for a lodge, and I know from talking to Mike up at Scottish Rite in Waco, he has got a program similar to that he got going, and he was just thrilled when he saw that come along. He has had a couple of lodges up there around Waco literally turn their memberships around completely using those programs. But it's up to us. We cannot rely on other people outside of our lodge to develop our membership, because we know who we need, and we need Masons. We don't just need members. We've got to have guys that are willing to take those obligations, stick with them, and abide by them. That's all there is to it. I mean, this is not complicated, I don't think, when it comes to getting membership at our lodges and bringing guys in. A quick little story I will tell y'all. I just initiated my oldest son. He is 39 years old. His grandfather was a Mason. His father had nothing to do with it. And yeah, I got 3 boys. I've inherited all 3 of them. He was so excited back in January when he said, what do I need to do about getting up there and maybe getting involved? Because he said, I don't have friends like you've got friends. And I said, well, you see all my friends are Masons. And he said, yeah, I know. He said, how do I look into it? Because unless he asked me, I wasn't going to talk to him about it. But he had to go through, just like we treat everybody else, no special treatment, and thin these guys out that we don't need, but get these good Masons, the guys we know are going to make good Masons in our lodge.
Thank you so much. Brother Park?
All right. Well, these guys have heard me talk about this a lot because it's something that I've been doing over the past year. When I was in New Mexico 2 years ago for Masonicon, a woman from the Northern Scottish Rite jurisdiction named Linda Patch gave a talk there about a study that they commissioned in the Northern jurisdiction. And it's called The Path Forward, the book that came of it. And she was giving a presentation on that. And it blew me away because what everyone always hears, or what I heard for a lot of my Masonic career, is that the younger generations just don't like what Masonry has to offer, that we need to change to somehow suit the tastes of the millennials and Gen Z. And what they found with this study is that is as far from the truth as you could possibly be. That after surveying all these men of these younger generations, once they learned what Masonry was and its core tenets were, 86% would consider joining. And so what they did with that information in the Northern jurisdiction is they hired an advertising firm and some other firms, and they worked on basically a way to get what Masonry is out to the public. And what came of that was the Not Just a Man, a Mason campaign, which is a website that offers free services to any other grand jurisdiction in the country or the world that want to use this program. And if you look at our website, we use pictures from this program on our website. And what they also did is they came up with a way for people that were interested in Masonry to basically sign something on the website, would send it to them, and then they would send it out to the jurisdiction in which that person lived. And it's been so successful that every jurisdiction is getting thousands of these leads a year, including Texas. So, again, these are not people going through the Grand Lodge of Texas or going to a Blue Lodge. These are thousands of potential Masons in Texas that are going through this website, right? So what happens to those? Well, for the longest time in Texas, they were funneled to our Grand Lodge, and then they just disappeared into the void. Now, at least we are throwing them down into the districts where they live, but we don't really have a good program to handle that. Ohio does. What Ohio has done is any leads they get through this website or through their own website get funneled to a membership committee at the Grand Lodge level. From there, it gets funneled down to a district membership officer, and each lodge has a lodge membership officer. And this candidate is followed at every step. They're tracked. So once they put their information in, someone is talking to them every step. Someone's talking to them at the Grand Lodge level. They're talking to them at the district level, finding out what they like, what kind of lodge they want to be a part of, and then it's funneled down to the lodge level. And again, Grand Lodge is keeping track on how fast these guys are moving forward. Because one of the things the study found is men want Masonry, but the promise has to be real. What we're advertising, we actually have to live up to. If we're saying all this stuff about Masonry and it's X, Y, and Z, and they get to lodge and we're not offering X, Y, and Z, that's a problem. So it's two things. We need to set up something like that, but we have to ensure that the promise is real. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is a lightning round question, 200 points for each one. And we will answer these questions in 1 minute burst. Right Worshipful, how can technology be used to strengthen lodge operations and communication while preserving the personal touch that defines Freemasonry?
Well, absolutely. The internet is one of the most evil things that we have to have, it seems like, these days. I was joking around earlier about Facebook. You cannot do this, what we're doing, without Facebook. You can't do it. And I hate Facebook. I have seen it destroy. I sell to a lot of dental offices. I've seen Facebook destroy dental offices over stuff that's happened there, and it's got out on the internet. Two of the people that I actually already have in my circle, one is retired Army, was an intelligence specialist, cybersecurity guy, and I've got one that was a executive with Citicorp. He is very good with internet material. We have a new member at my lodge in Allen that he doesn't know it yet, but he's getting ready to get pulled in. He's also retired Navy, and he is really good with Facebook and Instagram stuff. These are the people. Oh, that's right. 1 minute. Sorry.
Well, I will say this. One of the things this study also found, we're talking about membership, is that if you're going to reach the younger generations, like millennials and then Gen Z, you have to be using social media and technology. I mean, even email is passé for them, and Facebook. I mean, younger kids are not on Facebook. You're going to have to use something else like TikTok or Instagram or whatever. I'm sure there's ones I don't even know about. But there's always been kind of a reluctance on our part to move there. And I hate Facebook. If Like, I have to get people to help me post things there because I just hate using it so much. But if we're going to be doing that, we have to go that direction. And again, it's going to take someone smarter and younger than me to figure out how you do that while maintaining, basically our laws and secrecy and maintaining that personal touch. But it's coming, guys. It's coming.
Time. Brother Moxley?
Well, that's why we have an internet committee. They're the ones that do internet stuff. Like I said, I have to get my 10-year-old grandson to help me do my iPhone sometimes, But it's just we need the internet committee to help the trustees learn more about what we need to do and how we can do it, and get the message out through the internet committee onto the whatever things they've got, Facebook, TikTok, whatever. Like I said, I don't know all of them, but it's just that's what they're there for, is to help the trustees get the message out through the internet. And it's where everybody's getting their information nowadays, and we want to make sure they're getting the right information, not some of the stuff that other people are putting out that's negative against us.
Thank you very much. And this is the last question, and you will have your full 3 minutes for this last question. Brother Parks. Describe what you hope Freemasonry in Texas will look like 10 years from now if we follow the course you propose as Grand Junior Warden.
Well, that's an interesting question. If everything that I wanted to happen happened, I think it would look very similar. I think the only changes you would see, you would hopefully see membership be moving into the black, like where we're actually gaining members instead of losing them, and I think that is very possible. Based on everything that I've seen and talking to the northern jurisdiction, again, if we change a few things, let's give an example. What they found out of everyone who contacted a lodge for more information, 86% of those people did not receive any type of follow-up or callback. And I've tested that out here in Texas. When I've given this speech at NWSA meetings, I have basically pretended to be a prospective Mason and sent out emails to these lodges asking for information. And I will say that number's pretty accurate as far as the responses I got. Again, these are things that are easy to change. If we change these, we'll see an increase. I'm hoping also we will see a change in how we handle Masonic disputes. I'm hoping that, again, things aren't going to look too different on the outside because, again, to me, when you talk about Masonry, there's two things. There's Masonry with the capital M, which is Masonry the idea, right? Masonry, our core tenets. That thing doesn't change. That thing is the same as it has been and will forever be, and that is the Masonry that we practice. When you talk about Masonry with the small m, the fraternity, that is a man-made creation that can be improved. Like capital M Masonry can't be improved. Small m Masonry can. But again, I am hoping that we will just see, less disciplinary violations, less fights at the Grand Lodge level, less dissension among the brethren, and increasing membership. And if I can see that, I will be a happy man and think that I have done my job. Thank you.
Thank you. Brother Moxley?
Well, I hope to see the membership increase. I hope to see Title V fixed. Let's redo that and get it so that we can understand it. But the main thing I'd like to see the lodges get out more in the communities, do more community involvement, get the word out about our programs that we have for the fantastic teeth and the scholarships that we give out, so that the public knows who we are and what we do, and all the charitable things that we do. A lot of people don't realize how much we donate to charity every year, and so we need to just get more out in the public, let the public know who we are and what we're doing, and hopefully that will make the fraternity stronger. Find us some new members, and just keep on with as best we can the tenets of our profession, of our fraternity, and make this a bigger and better fraternity, and want more people to be part of it.
Thank you. Right, Worship Wilkerson.
Okay, I'm going to really step out on a limb here and see how many people just jump up and run out the door. I want to see Eastern Star coming back stronger, because I'm going to tell you that's a tie. My growing up, as I say, I was old school. I grew up more with everything we did had to do with church, had to do with Eastern Star, had to do with baseball. That was it. I did not even know my dad was a Mason till his funeral when I was 13 years old. And all these men showed up, and there was like 200 guys there with aprons on. I want to see that start coming back. I want to see more cooperation, because I think if you bring it in, not just as the husband or the father of the family, but you bring in the family. We had a dinner down at Scottish Rite just a couple of weeks ago. First time I went into that building down there in Austin, I was 18 months old. I grew up in that building. I'm one of the guys that remembers there used to be 5 pool tables down the side in that side room over there next to the main room. I felt at home there. That's a piece of my life. I want to see that coming back. This younger generation, and my oldest son, I'm going to use him for an example over and over, they don't have tradition. And we need to start instilling some of that back in these people, that they find that's a solid takeoff point for them. They've got something they know they can reach back and have a memory and have something solid and have a positive feeling about Masonry and about family. And I'm not scared to use the word Eastern Star. My mom is a 73-year member. She's 97 years old. She'll be 98 week after next. My sister's a 63-year member. I'm a 43-year member. But you just don't see many of them. And I know that the chapter here closed. My mom told me last night she came here the year after my dad died to work with the Eastern Star chapter. She was a deputy that year. These are traditions. These are memories that these kids these days are losing. They have none of this. And we've got to work on getting that back, because I think when you start feeling like that, and you start feeling, I use my family, and I got a big family, and I'll tell you, we don't always get along, but you better not say nothing bad about the other one. No, that ain't going to work. If you're from the outside, you're in trouble. So I want to see more of that. I want to see more Masons in civil leadership and in our government. I mean, practically all of them used to be. They're not anymore. You never hardly hear anybody being in there. You hear a lot of law enforcement and a lot of firefighters, which God bless them, and our military, God bless them, and everything y'all do. But you don't see them in civilian leadership, in our communities, leadership, in the school boards. That's where I want to see that, and I want to see them be Masons. Not just the members, I want to see them be Masons.
Thank you so much. All right. Now the real questions come into play. We're going to have 10 minutes for questions from the audience. I'm going to stand over here where you guys are going to be standing at. You guys have approximately, I'm going to say about a minute or so to answer the question.
And brethren, please forgive me for not being in proper attire. I was feeding cows this morning, so I'm not wearing a suit for that. So thank you so much for being here, for giving us an opportunity to learn about you, and for your leadership. We desperately need it. So I'm going to talk about some challenges that we have and just briefly ask some questions about how you might help us lead to the future. So we have 2 lodges in our district that recently suffered some harm because Grand Lodge committees did not act within what we believe is reasonable timelines. Rambo Lodge 426 submitted a property petition in April that has not been acted or responded to. Johnson City Lodge 561 lost a qualified cash buyer for its building after waiting more than 70 days for resolution for a petition that just never came. Both lodges complied with the laws and waited in good faith, but the delay cost both lodges financially and reputationally. As a prospective Grand Junior Warden, an officer who will soon help oversee our committees and ensure the crafts business is done in due form, how will you hold Grand Lodge and its committees accountable to the same laws and timelines that we require of our constituent lodges? What specific measures will you put in place to ensure timely communication, transparency, and enforcement of those statutory deadlines so that lodges are never again harmed by inaction at the Grand Lodge level?
First, I've got firsthand knowledge on a couple of things not having to do with those two, although I did talk to Brother over here from Wimberley Lodge about this earlier, about the stuff going on over there. I do know two other instances, though, that there seems to have been a problem in the last 6 months or 7 months with paperwork just not being where it's supposed to be, or somebody not getting it that was supposed to have gotten it. And I will tell you for a fact that I know that Grandmaster has gone out of his way. As soon as he has a phone call, he expects to have any documentation signed within 2 days. He will drive wherever he's got to drive to, and he will get that documentation signed. But until it's presented to him, he can't do anything. Now, I don't know if it's gotten held up at the Grand Secretary's office, if it goes to civil law, real estate, on most of that. That's going through them. And I know we had a couple of sickness, but that doesn't matter.
Time. Next.
That is a very valid and very common complaint, and it's one of the reasons why people don't like Civil Law Committee. And I don't like to wear this in certain situations, but one of the issues that we have is, well, I want to say that I've taken kind of a hiatus, so that's probably one of the problems. But I'm joking. But we have some really good attorneys in civil law, and they have their day practices, and they do that. And the unfortunate thing is that civil law technically represents the Grandmaster, right? And so a lot of lodges send us stuff, and they've done the best job they can. They've gone through the documents we have for them. They've put together everything that needs to be put together. There might be one or two things that are wrong, or that from our perspective, need to be fixed. And it would be so easy for us just to do it for you, because I would love to, but we have to maintain. We can't be representing the subordinate lodges.
Time.
And that's the problem, is that we need to figure out how to fix that. And that was the point of the real estate committee, but it hasn't been used the right way.
Brother Moxley.
Okay. With these problems that we're having with the committees and all, I'd put a timeline on them. If you turn paperwork into the Grand Secretary's office, I'd give him a week, maybe 2 weeks, to go through it and decide which committees it needs to go to, get it funneled to the committees, give those committees 90 days. Do something, figure out what needs to be done, what needs to be changed, if there's any corrections or something that they need to do to it. If in 90 days they haven't gotten back to the Grand Master, they need to come by and tell them why. What is the problem? What is the holdup? And the Grand Master give them a couple more weeks maybe to look into it, or maybe a month. I don't know, but dragging these things out for a year or more is just too much.
Do we have another brother that has a question? Very good question, by the way. Very good question.
Again, thank you, brothers, for being here. It's very important to us that you are able to share your viewpoints and your experiences with us. One of the most important things we do is make Masons. So I would like to hear about a degree, excluding, of course, your own, that was particularly memorable or impressed you, and why it made such an impression on you. So preferably one of the Blue Lodge degrees, but just one either you attended, why the candidate was special, or just tell us about a degree that you saw or participated in that was particularly memorable.
I've got two of them. I conferred degrees on both my sons and my son-in-law, and that was something that to do that is really special. I also, when I received my degrees, my dad and he's an uncle, but he's more of a grandfather because he raised my mother and her sister, and he was secretary of Harlandale Lodge for 30 some odd years. But he and my dad did all three of my degrees, and those were really special to me too. I wish my dad had been around when my boys came through, because I know he'd be proud of them. But those are the ones that really stand out to me.
I think Don will know mine. We had an EA at Alamo Lodge named, was it Claude Monroe, Claude Herman Monroe? This was maybe 7 or 8 years ago. He was a very good man. And while he was an EA, he developed pancreatic cancer and was going to die in less than a month. And he wanted to be a Master Mason before he died. And so Grand Lodge and the Grand Master allowed us to confer the Fellowcraft and the Master Mason's degree on him in an expedited form, because at the time he was in a wheelchair and could barely talk. So we did that, and then at the end, a Masonic ring was placed on his hand, and he could barely speak, but basically broke into tears, and everyone in the lodge broke into tears, and he passed away the next day. That had to be to see everyone there and what they did for this man, and then at his funeral to hear what his wife spoke about, that was the most Masonic thing I have witnessed personally.
Thank you.
Okay, well, that's going to be hard to beat. I don't have any death involved, but I will tell you that my older brother was my third ruffian when I was raised. I conferred the master's degree on my little brother in June of '91, and I will tell y'all that when after raising him, I placed my father's first Blue Lodge pin that he ever had on his lapel, on his collar, on his shirt, and there was not a dry eye in that entire place. He had never had anything of my father's at all. The second one, I want to tell y'all, in all honesty, actually happened about 7 weeks ago. Initiating my oldest son was one thing, and it meant so much to me because his father's completely out of the picture. I'm dead, and so he looks to me for everything. But we actually had a guy that we had to
Time.
Okay.
Anybody else have any other questions? We have room for one more question.
This one right here. Gentlemen, thank you again for coming and doing this. I hope no one thinks I'm putting them on, I'm calling anyone out, but I'd like a I want to follow up to Brother Fisher's question. So would y'all support a resolution so that if a real estate is then sent to the real estate committee and in action and it hits a threshold, that outside counsel is then engaged and at the cost of Grand Lodge so that no other lodges are harmed by inaction? Because what we're talking about on these individual things is not paperwork got missed, inaction was the culprit.
Sounds like a project manager position. That's what I'm talking about. I think Will Wilkins wants it.
Well, having and being involved with a few things of what I've heard, I'm not on one of those committees, but it has been talked about increasing the size of those committees because bottom line is this is a volunteer organization. These guys are not getting paid like they are from their regular jobs. And Robert, he's still supporting. He's got 3 daughters. I just met him at Family Day. Cute as the buttons. Just great. He's not getting paid by Grand Lodge to do anything. We're not even paid for our travel. As DDGM at large, I've been literally all over this state this year helping on things, investigations and other things. We may need to increase the size of these committees so that we have more people. If some of them are strapped, if he's got a big job that he's got to take care of for his firm, we can't expect him to walk away from that to fix what we need. So we may have to increase the size of the committees.
And I love my committee. There's very good attorneys on there, and they all do a very good job. But if I was impartial and outside of this committee looking at this, the answer to this, if we've talked about, I would love if Grand Lodge could hire counsel for these lodges. That leads to a lot of other problems too. The members of the committees just need to be held accountable. Like if you have screwed up a deal or there's a lot of time between when it was submitted and what's going on, like it needs to go to somebody else, or there needs to be a reshuffle of the committee. I mean, that's the bottom line, is that the committees have to be held accountable for the work they do. This is a volunteer organization, but if you don't have the time to volunteer, like let someone else do it. So again, that has to be the solution, is that the trustees and the Grand Master have to hold a whip to these guys, and if they can't do it, they got to get someone in that can.
I'll just go back to what I said earlier. Give them a time limit. You've got 90 days to do something with it. If you can't get it done in 90 days, let the Grandmaster know. Huh? Too long. 90 days too long? Well, I agree. It probably is too long, but that's just the number I threw out there. But yeah, but if they're not getting it done, they need to come and explain to the trustees why it's not getting done and what needs to be done to give them a little bit more time if they need it. But we've got to set a time limit and make it strict and make them accountable for it. And like Brother Park said, if they can't do the job, get somebody that can.
All right, thank you. Like I said, those are the real questions for today. We do have we're going to give you guys a 1 minute closing. We're going to start with Right Worshipful Wilkerson. We're going to go that way. And then I'll pass it over to Brother Hugo.
Thank you, brother. And I want to thank all of you again today, and Wimberley Lodge for hosting this today. I'm going to be very curious to see how this all comes out. I had a little fun with him earlier. He said, we're going to be editing. And I said, man, you better be careful with that editing stuff. That's gotten a lot of people in trouble, including CBS. So you just have to be careful how you do that editing. But I trust him completely. He's a good guy. Like I said, I want to thank all of you. This is very trying on us. I can't even begin to tell you with what we've got regularly going on, and then trying to fit these in, squeeze them in. There seems to be more popping up. I think we've got 5 more now before the end of the year. There was like 3 or 4 we did back in 23 when I had made myself available the first time. George was with me. He was right there the whole time. But thank y'all for doing this. I think something's going to have to be done to develop these so that we have like regional deals. It is a lot to ask of some of the guys. I'm very blessed. My wife, although she does not like me being gone at night, she likes it that I'm out and involved with my brothers. So I want to thank y'all very much. Please come to Grand Lodge. Bring someone with you. That's the thing. If you're not speaking at Grand Lodge and voting at Grand Lodge, then you need to sit and just keep quiet, because that's where we make things happen. So thank y'all so much. It was just great to see y'all.
Thank you, Right Worshipful. Brother Park, same time, 1:30.
All right. Yeah, I'll be brief. I appreciate y'all having us out here. This was a lot of fun. Yes, there are many more forums this year than last year, but I will say that I enjoy them. They're always a lot of fun. I like getting to meet people and answer these questions. And again, all 3 of us, if anyone has anything that pops in their head later, call us. We would love to talk about this stuff. And again, I just want to point out that I'm very happy. Again, like last year when I made myself available, the guys I ran against, Keith and Chip, great guys. And it didn't really matter to me who won, because you couldn't nothing bad could happen. And I kind of feel that way this year too. And that's a very good position to be in. And again, I hope to see y'all at Grand Lodge, and thank you again.
Well, I'll just echo what they said. I'm glad to see everybody out here. It's a good crowd, good questions. But I think thank Wimberley Lodge and District 52 for putting this on, Hugo. And like I said, we've got a lot more to go, and but it's fun. You know, we get out here and we get to meet people and see these lodges. But like I said, all three of us at the end, we're still going to be friends. We're still going to be brothers, no matter who wins. But we're all in it for the same reason. We want to serve the Grand Lodge of Texas and help make the Grand Lodge of Texas stronger and better.
And before I pass it over to Brother Hugo, I just want to say this is District 52, the most great district of Central Texas. We are compiled of 8 lodges, all the way from Blanco to Canyon Lake to Buda, all over. And I didn't mention, I'm sorry, guys, but you know there's a lot of us here. But I thank you very much from the bottom of my heart for letting me be the moderator for this. And Brother Hugo.
Thank you, Brother Marco. Again, not only thank you to Brother Wilkerson, Brother Parks, and Brother Moxley for taking the time. I know it's a lot to ask of y'all to come out to individual lodges. That's why we put together this one for our district. Guys, I know that y'all have put yourselves in this position to go for the Grand South. And you all are, it's really obligated to get out here into the community, into our community of Masonic. So thank you for making yourselves available for the Grand South, and we look forward to hearing more from you down the road. And again, guys, do call these guys if you have any questions. I also want to say thank you to all of y'all who took time out of your day to come out here. I do have somebody that came up to me who would like to make a comment. Please, Brother Victor, and then we'll proceed to close this down.
It's not important who I am, it's what I am. I'm a 65-year Master Mason. I am 90 years old. And I want to tell you, brothers, all of you, that the reason we don't have membership because we are not delivering what Masonry is all about. We are a spiritual travel. We promise to make better men out of good men, but we never do. After they complete their 3rd degree, they disappear. Our lodges are not symbolically correct. So let us start delivering what we're supposed to be delivering and let people know why there's 3 steps to the masters. That's why we're losing people. They come in complete blind, knock on our door. Let us provide them what all young people are looking for, a rite of passage to become men. Thank you, brother.
Again, brethren, thank you so much for being here. This is our first time to host this particular type of a forum, and I look forward to doing it hopefully again next year, depending on who the president is. It'll be up to their prerogative to be able to do so. So in the meantime, safe travels. Again, brethren, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for making sure it's available for the Grand South.